you have tickets? Yeah. So I was their son for the day. They didn't have a son, but there's our son. I didn't know you had a son. Oh, yeah, from a previous marriage. Yeah. So I got to see first. That's the first time I got to see you on film. I was a tyke. I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm older than I look.
Never a type.
Never a type. I'm a little roly-poly at times, but
I just read the reread the novelization of Search for Spock. I found it in a corner, and just so much fun to read it. And then suddenly, I hear you're coming. So
that's cool.
I finally watched it myself recently, and I watched the episodes I did on The Next Generation.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you forget,
Right.
and then also what bears out to be correct in your memory. I don't know what it was about the pandemic, but I think it got people really digging deep to do podcasts. Anything that was creative but didn't involve meeting in person.
Yeah.
And so I was being sought out by the most obscure people that were doing every kind of podcast, funny Star Trek, maudlin Star Trek, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And one outfit does was, I'm trying to think, the films that made us or something, or the
Right.
and they do really fun behind the scene, like Dirty Dancing, for instance, and Elf. They did a deep dive into why and how these movies came to be made, and the series of just sort of unrelated decisions that made the film what it was ultimately, and all the ways it was going to go sideways before it actually succeeded. And so they reached out to me for Star Trek in that way, and I thought, I better refresh my memory. And I still have my calendars from 1983 and 1984.
Wow.
So I was able to see, I'm not a hoarder, I swear I'm not a hoarder, but I have every paycheck I've ever earned since I started working in 1978. But I'm not a hoarder. Anyway, there it was, the day I met Harv Bennett, the day I met Leonard Nimoy, the day I was screen tested. It's all there in my calendar. I actually had a phone number for Leonard Nimoy, which blew my mind, without an area code, back before,
As long as you're in the same.
But it was just interesting to dig all this stuff up so that I would be better prepared to chit-chat about it. Because, as I said, something about the pandemic made people come out of the woodwork, pursuing, interviews and wanting to go back and get the straight skinny on how things unfolded. So it was really fun to kind of go into my own archives and dig stuff up. I found photos I'd forgotten I'd taken, notes I'd forgotten I'd written.
it's kind of like reliving it all over.
A lot of fun, yeah. And I was so happy I saved these things.
So was the Harv
filing cabinet 47, drawer C.
There you go.
So
I wish it was so.
So was Harv Bennett
I know. I have boxes. People are like, what are you keeping those boxes for? Because I know what's in them. I know what memories they are.
There you go.
And it's like you have stuff from high school. You have stuff from this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, but I know what's in there. I mean,
Yeah.
and I know that. I mean, I was just
I'm
sitting there.
overly sentimental.
Yeah, me too. I can't get rid of a lot of things either. It's like, I remember when I got this shirt. I mean, I have, T-shirts and stuff at home. People, why didn't so many bunch of T-shirts? Well, this was this vacation trip. That was this.
Special occasions.
Yeah. I still have a paycheck for my first job, my first on the books job. Back in Brooklyn. How many jobs I worked before? I just got paid. Okay, here, out of the till at the end of the night. This is my first real paycheck, and I'm like, I hate this thing. Why? There's taxes on this thing.
I had my first paycheck from Paramount, from Star Trek, and I have the telegrams that Harv Bennett sent me. What a nice man he was. He was very classy, and it was a little sort of interestingly coincidental that he and Leonard died within weeks of each other.
Right.
Because they were tight. From my sort of inexperienced point of view back then. Harv and Leonard worked very, I thought, in a simpatico way. People say, what was it like to take somebody else's place? And it's my observation that I think Harv and Leonard, and I don't mean to be calling them by their first names like I hung out with them. I did not hang out with these people. But Mr. Bennett and Nimoy, I think they took the tack that rather than make her feel, me, like she has to follow in someone else's footsteps, let's just start fresh. And that's kind of the approach they took. So I wasn't made to feel like I had to kind of, echo someone else's performance or take off where they, finished. But more so, it's you. It's he directed me like it's always been me. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a smart way to go, because you could get in your head, I think, about this stuff a little bit. And I didn't, because as it turns out, he directed me very differently. Our collaboration was quite different than the collaboration of Nicholas Meyer and Kirstie Alley, and I say, vive la différence, it's all good. It's all good. There's room for everything.
Some of us like you better, so.
No, but I don't say that to prompt that kind of response at all. I think it's all good, and that's the beauty of creative things. You can look at it and be profoundly moved, and I could look at it and go, yeah, it doesn't do anything for me.
Of course he directed you differently. You never appeared on Match Game.
What, no,
Wait, were you?
I don't get the joke.
So the running gag with a couple friends of mine is somebody had asked one time, well, what was Kirstie Alley's first role? First major role, and a lot of people say Star Trek II. It's like, no, she was a contestant, and then she was a panelist on Match Game.
Yeah, with Gene Rayburn.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a
That means he had his hands on
But I do remember.
We won't go there, okay?
Hey guys,
They're
I'm
syndicated on
gonna